You know, the exhaustion of like under your eyes is tired, behind your eyes, that kind of exhaustion, that's where I'm at. Did my Dutch test again. My progesterone is so low. It's like just outside that postmenopausal range. Like it is very low. So when we do not have it, we feel like garbage because if we are eating too low calorie, cortisol goes up, tanks our progesterone, fat burning pathway shut off. Progestins messed me up for like over a decade. They can actually worsen your stress response. They can worsen anxiety. They can worsen depression. And it is crazy how just by addressing progesterone levels, the stress management, and all the things I'm going to talk about how to improve progesterone naturally can make a massive difference for our mood. It sucks. Like I wish I would have been told this stuff sooner. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Metabolism and Menopause podcast. My name is Stephanie, and I am your host and CEO of Vitality OET. We are a women's nutrition, health, and fitness coaching company that focuses predominantly on women's hormones, particularly as they start going through perimenopause and onwards. We know that you start experiencing so many changes in this time of your life, whether it's the hot flashes, the night sweats, irritability, brain fog, or weight gain around the middle that seems to have come out of absolutely nowhere despite you not changing anything. So you go back to those tried and true methods of cutting calories, cutting carbs, doing a bunch of cardio, yet it feels like nothing is working. You're putting in all this effort and you're just moving backwards. But we know now that your body is inherently different now that you've gone through these hormonal changes. So our mission here at Vitality is to really help you understand how your body changes in this time of your life so you can reach those health and fitness goals, feel in control and at home in your body again, live a life full of vitality, and really understand how to take care of this new body of yours. So today we are covering progesterone versus progestin because they are not the same. I have done past podcasts on progesterone a long time ago. And if you've been in this community for any amount of time, in our Facebook community, if you have been listening to the podcast for any amount of time, you know that we're going to talk about hormones a lot. But you may or may not have heard about progestin. Most people think that progestin and progesterone are interchangeable. But to be a surprise to most people, they actually are not. So I want to cover the differences between the two, what they are and the way that they both work, and really understanding what you can do, how it could be actually contributing to symptoms, because progestin is very, very common in HRT if it's not bioidentical, birth controls, things like that. And it can actually cause low progesterone. It can result in an inability to lose weight. It can result in things like anxiety. So I want to really explain this to you so you can make some better choices, try different options and see what works best for you, because progestins messed me up for like over a decade. It was not good. So I'm going to speak a little bit from personal experience as well. So first, let's cover what progesterone is, because we love progesterone. It is a hormone that occurs naturally in our body. It belongs to a group of steroid hormones called progestogens, and it is made in women's bodies in varying amounts and also in men's bodies a little bit as well. Progesterone refers only to the specific hormone that is made by the corpus luteum, so that's through a actual cycle. And progesterone levels typically peak on like day 21 of a menstrual cycle, and in a healthy menstrual cycle, progesterone surges post-ovulation and is in charge of the second half of our menstrual cycle. This helps our body prepare for, potential embryo, for a fertilized egg. And if an egg is fertilized, then the body produces even more progesterone to support the embryo and the fetus as it grows. So when we are not menstruating anymore, progesterone is made in small amounts in the ovaries as well as the adrenal glands. So for myself, this was a big reason why we were actually worried about whether or not we'd be able to have children. Because when I took my Dutch test, my progesterone was in the postmenopausal levels, as was my estrogen, and my cortisol was really high. So I had to spend a lot of time working on improving this, because basically I was having a cycle, but I wasn't producing any progesterone. I was in a very high stress state. This is also going to impact things, which we'll talk about in a little bit here. But the fact that I was on progestins from birth control for almost 2 decades really messed things up for me. So what are these progestins that I keep talking about? They were created in the 1950s. It is a synthetic form, man-made, to try and mimic the effects of progesterone in our body. Progestins have a slightly different chemical compound than progesterone does, and it is most commonly used steroid drug being used in many oral contraceptive pills, implants, as well as the Mirena IUD, the morning after pill, and some menopause treatments as well. And then there are bioidentical forms, which are different from progestins. And that's what we typically recommend for women if they are going on HRT. Those are going to be typically synthesized from plant chemicals called diosgens, which I can never pronounce these things. It's so brutal, which is found in wild yams. So synthetic progestins, not bioidentical forms, actually decrease your natural levels of progesterone and can actually suppress your body's natural production of progesterone so that when you're finished with the treatment, especially if it is a progestin-based birth control, you will have low levels of progesterone leading to symptoms like headaches, migraines, sleep disturbances, acne, weight fluctuations, mood swings, anxiety, depression, vaginal dryness. There are so many. And libido, like so many things. And these were all things that I was really struggling with. It's something that a lot of our clients struggle with because obviously progesterone is going to go down during perimenopause and menopause, but we see this being an issue in so many women. I was on a consultation call 2 weeks ago talking to a woman who has really, really bad PMDD and like so much anxiety, struggling sleeping, specifically in those like the second half of her cycle. And this is because her progesterone was tanking so much from different things. It got really bad when she went on the IUD, and this was why. But when she went to her doctor, they just recommended giving her anti-anxiety medication and depression pills when that wasn't the actual root cause of the problem. Can those help with symptoms to like until you get things going? Yes, but we need to actually address why is this actually happening? So what does progesterone actually do for us aside from, being that pregnancy hormone that we all think about? It helps prepare us for conception. It's needed to maintain the pregnancy and regulating our menstrual cycle, right? Those are kind of more obvious things, helps with sexual desire, but it's also our chill hormone. Progesterone is the hormone that makes us feel calm and relaxed. Someone can say something and we're not very reactive. Like stress just rolls off our back. Our sleep is great. And now a lot of people are probably like, I don't think I have that. Yeah, a lot of us don't these days. A lot of us do not. And so when we have enough progesterone, we're typically going to see way less anxiety. We're going to see way fewer mood swings. We're going to actually tolerate stress better. Like things don't seem to affect us as much. And the biggest thing is that it is a counterbalance to estrogen. So think of them as like yin and yang. I like to think about estrogen. She's a little dramatic. She's like, in the movies where the girl's like about to fight someone, she's like, hold my earrings. That's estrogen. And progesterone's like, okay, I'll take your earrings, but do you really think this is like a good idea? Maybe we should talk this out over coffee first. Let's relax and think about the situation more clearly. That's progesterone. So when we don't have enough progesterone, estrogen can be wild. And you can still have this imbalance between the two, even if both levels are low. So you can have low estrogen and low progesterone, but if progesterone's too low compared to estrogen, we start seeing more hormonal imbalance symptoms of estrogen dominance, which are very similar to low progesterone as well. We see the weight gain, we see weight fluctuations, the mood swings, the anxiety, those kinds of things. So you can have both can be low and you can have more symptoms of estrogen dominance despite the fact that both your hormones are low. So we see this in women in perimenopause and menopause often as well. So when we look at progesterone, it thins our uterus lining. Estrogen is going to thicken it. So without enough progesterone, we're going to see that the uterine lining can get thicker. Progesterone helps prevent breast cancers. Estrogen can help promote the growth of breast cancer. Progesterone helps boost our thyroid function, while too much estrogen can actually suppress it. We see that we have when we have healthy levels of progesterone, we feel like we have less inflammation, which is awesome because we know inflammation is going to block our fat burning pathways, making it impossible to lose weight. Our body is being told, hey, let's store, despite eating less and moving more. The signals are messed up because you're blocking that fat burning pathway. So inflammation is going to be a big role here. We also know it's going to help us build muscle, which will help with blood sugar control, with speeding our metabolism. We also know it's going to help promote sleep, which helps with cravings, which helps with our energy, which helps us with our blood sugar control, our stress management, our ability to build and maintain muscle mass. It's protective of heart disease. It helps use fat for energy. It helps build and maintain strong bones. It helps protect cortisone production. It also helps with appetite and fat storage. It helps our nervous system. It helps us cope with so many things like stress. Progesterone helps us in so many capacities. So when we do not have it, we feel like garbage. That is where I'm at right now. So I had really low progesterone, really low estrogen, really high cortisol, really high androgens, like a lot of hormonal imbalances. And then I was able to fix them and we were good. Then I had a baby, post baby. I am like back to where we started. My son of the day of this recording is almost 8 months old. And that is wild that the time is going by that fast. But I was like hoping that by like this point I would be a lot better. I actually feel a lot worse. I went through a period of feeling better. And then now I'm going through a lot of stress with like being busy with work and traveling, which is good. Like it's good stress, but my body's not tolerating it well. Did my Dutch test again. My progesterone is so low. It's like just outside that postmenopausal range. Like it is very low. My estrogen's very low. My androgens are really high. My cortisol is really high. And so I can feel that like my body is struggling. I'm in that first part of my cycle here and I can feel like, the exhaustion of like under your eyes is tired behind your eyes, that kind of exhaustion. That's where I'm at. And this is very typical of low progesterone. And the other thing too with progesterone is that it helps calm our nervous system because it converts our neurosteroid which acts like GABA in our brains. And GABA is this neurotransmitter that helps promote relaxation and helps promote sleep. So this is where like you'll sleep and you wake up and you don't feel recovered. This can be part of the reason, right? So progesterone is so important in terms of vitality and being able to feel like yourself and having energy, but also there's going to be part of it's going to be part of our ability to be able to lose weight. So progesterone production is going to be directly related to high stress and cortisol, like I just alluded to in my specific situation. And this is like 99% of the time when people are struggling with low progesterone, this is part of it. So when we are under chronic stress, our body is always going to prioritize producing cortisol, our stress hormone, over progesterone. Okay, so they both use the same precursor to create one or the other. Our body has to decide, okay, we have this, basically, let's say flour. Am I going to use this flour to make bread or am I going to use this flour to make cookies? Okay, so it's choosing to put it towards cortisol, our stress hormone, instead of progesterone. So we have to be honest with ourselves of like, I'm not stressed. I don't feel stressed, right? Because the truth is we are. So let me like outline what like stress looks like. And maybe this looks like a regular day for you. You wake up, you're already tired. You grab that cup of coffee first thing and slurp down your coffee on an empty stomach. You are then rushing out the door, go, go, go. You're doom scrolling on social media. You're upset because so-and-so looks really fit and healthy and that's where you want to be. They're living their best life. You're reading something terrible in the news about politics or healthcare or whatever it is. Then your kids are pissing you off. The house is a mess. You're like, the laundry needed cleaned isn't cleaned. You're going to grab breakfast or something and someone ate your breakfast. There's no food in the fridge. You're go, 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 rushing your kids out the door. You get to work and then you're on, right? You're on the whole time. We're skipping breakfast or like just grabbing a yogurt out the door, right? And so we're just constantly rushing. We're constantly on. We're dealing with deadlines at work and like maybe we love our job. I love my job. My Aura Ring, it shows me when I'm podcasting, when I'm at events, when I am on and I'm feeling fulfilled and I'm feeling great and I love it so much. My stress is elevated. Yesterday, my stress was elevated for 8.5 hours. And all I did was work and then do a workout. Like, that's insane because like physically, I didn't feel like I was doing that much. I didn't feel like the stress of work. Like I enjoy my job, but we're go, go, go. We're busy. Maybe you're like rushing through your breaks or you're eating while you're working, right? And then you're picking up your kids. You're dealing with like sick parents. I mean, if you've dealt with grief and trauma and you're also trying to balance like a relationship with your partner and you're also worrying about what's for dinner and trying to like look good. And then you're going and doing a crazy workout, which is like really sweaty and you're under eating calories and you're cutting your carbs and you're fasting because you're trying to lose weight. You're going to bed late. You're on screens all the time. Like all of this is just go, 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 go. And then we're taking sick parents and taking care of our family. Like all of this is a stress. All of it, the under eating, the over exercising, the cutting carbs, the fasting, all those things are a stress on your body paired with everything that we're dealing in everyday life. So the truth is we are stressed. We've never been more stressed as a society, literally ever. And like, it's harder to unplug and to actually slow down. We are afraid that if we slow down, we're going to lose momentum and won't be able to get going again. We feel like if we're not productive, that we're not worthy of rest. Like, we're supposed to be productive all of the time. Like, we don't take time to actually slow down, bring our breathing rate down and our heart rate down, literally ever. And I also am someone who struggles with this, obviously, based on the results of my last Dutch test, which I will share with you guys on a podcast soon. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that. So we're all in this like stress state, and it leads to something called HPA, axis dysregulation. It's basically our stress response system. And so it really ramps up the norepinephrine and epinephrine responses in our body, increases that cortisol production, and then decreases progesterone, which is that chill hormone. So now we're stressed and we also have no chill, which also makes us more stressed, right? And it can lead to a double stress because we aren't converting things into progesterone. So now our stress tolerance is even lower. And when estrogen goes down, our stress tolerance is even lower. So before we could handle a 9 out of 10 before we saw the stress hormone go up, now it's only a 5 out of 10. So now it takes way less stress to increase cortisol, which will also tank your progesterone. So you can see how you can feel like you're not changing anything, but internally things are. And now your body's responding to that with the weight gain, with the hormonal symptoms, with, the brain fog and the bloating and the cravings and, just everything that we're really dealing with, struggling with weight loss, right? And so but then we push harder. We cut calories more and we work harder at work and we're showing up earlier and we're staying up later to work and all these things. And that actually puts us back even further, dropping progesterone more, dropping estrogen more. Cortisol goes higher. When cortisol goes up, you know what happens? Worse hormone production, worse blood sugar control, worse thyroid function, worse energy, loss of muscle mass, more bloating, more issues with our liver. And this all slows down our metabolism, making our body really terrible at burning calories. That's going to increase our inflammation. It's going to increase our insulin resistance risk, despite the fact that you're cutting calories and fasting and cutting carbs. That's going to keep happening over and over. And those things in itself block fat burning, overstimulate our growth pathway. So then our body is told, hey, we need to store, we have enough, despite the fact that you're fasting, cutting calories, cutting carbs, doing the cardio. And so we're actually working against ourselves because we're just further decreasing progesterone, further decreasing estrogen, further increasing cortisol, making blood sugar even worse. And like all of this is this giant cycle, but we view the weight gain as the problem, but it's not. That's a symptom. Our body is trying to communicate with us as to what's going on inside, but we're just ignoring it and thinking we can just like outmuscle our way through it, outwork our way through it. And that is not true. And so this is something that we need to really be aware of. And we talked about progestins, right? Like we talked about how they are man-made, right? They're made to kind of be like progesterone, but they're not. And one of the biggest things that happens with progestins is that they can actually cause anxiety due to nutrient depletion of certain nutrients like EPA, copper, DHA, folate, magnesium, B vitamins, and zinc, only to name a few. So this is why anyone who's struggling with hormonal symptoms and dealing with high stress has been on hormonal birth control specifically, or struggling with low progesterone, we tell you, up your vitamin B intake from your foods, but also supplementing because vitamin B is very hard to absorb. Up your intake of magnesium at nighttime. These two are huge. Like we recommend them to everyone. We have a supplement guide with recommendations. You can also just go to like your local grocery store and find options there. They won't be as bioavailable, like harder for your body to absorb, but we do have recommendations if you want that. And so what we see is when we have those nutrient deficiencies paired with your progesterone, we do see that they lead to anxiety and mood disorders. We see this all of the time. It is crazy how just by addressing progesterone levels, the stress management, and all the things I'm going to talk about how to improve progesterone naturally can make a massive difference for our mood, our anxiety. It is crazy the women that we talk to after we've worked with them that are like, I thought I was like happy. I thought this was just like where I would be for the rest of my life. I didn't realize how sad I actually was or how anxious I actually was or struggled with my mood until like I started feeling better. Like I didn't realize how bad it was because that was just your normal, right? It's just, I'm used to it, right? This is how I am. So when we have these low levels of progesterone, we start seeing the weight gain, the moodiness, the depression, low energy, irregular periods, anxiety, headaches, symptoms of PMS like breast tenderness, bloating, fertility struggles. And progesterone levels are going to vary vastly throughout your lifespan. Again, being higher in the second half of your menstrual cycle, lower in your first. And as we age, we're going to see that slow decrease in progesterone. And it's supposed to be a slow decrease, right? But what we're seeing is that we see this massive drop. And what happens is we need our adrenal glands to take over. But that isn't always the case in perimenopause and menopause, because since our progesterone levels are so intricately tied to those cortisol levels, those stress levels, we often see lower progesterone levels than we should. Like they drop so aggressively. The symptoms come on super hard. This is where you feel like you just got hit by a bus and you're like, what the heck happened? Especially when we're in that comparison of like estrogen that can be really high some days, really low some days. And so with estrogen being so fluctuating during this time in your life, and then if your progesterone tanks aggressively, like you are going to feel awful. You are going to feel awful and you are going to struggle with your weight. And so synthetic progestins work similarly in the body like progesterone, right? Our body recognizes it as to be similar, right? And that's what you've been told, that they're the same. They have the same effects of progesterone, but they actually have many opposite effects. And this is where we see a lot of women who have been on progestin taking birth controls really struggle. And progestins are usually used in birth control to help treat irregular menstrual cycles, as well as certain cancers that react to hormones. And they can be used to alleviate symptoms of menopause, slowing down bone loss. They can also be used as part of fertility treatments. And like progestin comes in pills and patches and creams, injections, suppositories, but there is research to suggest that there could be several risks with taking progestins for menopausal symptoms management, such as like blood clots, higher blood pressure, hair loss. They can start becoming androgen or testosterone-like, because when we have natural progesterone, it helps keep our androgens in check. So these are the things that are going to cause like blood sugar control issues. We're also going to see issues with like hair loss, or you start growing hair on your chin, that cystic acne around your chin as well. These are very typical of high androgens. This is, again, something that I really struggled with because my progesterone was so low and my stress was so high. And then high androgens too, because progesterone keeps those in check. So when we lose progesterones, they can go rampant. And so then we really start to struggle with these things. We can actually see an increase in risk of breast cancer and heart problems. And all this depends on your personal level of risk, because everyone's going to be a little bit different, right? And another thing is that we don't get a breakdown of like different pieces when we're looking at this. So we don't know if they're converting to like GABA, which is a calming substance, or, we're seeing like that's not happening. So now we're seeing more anxiety. Like there is a lot of things in here where we're looking at progestins and we're seeing they can actually worsen your stress response. They can worsen anxiety. They can worsen depression. And I have lots of friends that were on progestin-containing birth control and came off of it. And they were like, oh my gosh, like my mood is so much better. I'm able to come off my anti-anxiety medications. So there's a lot of negatives that can come with progestins if we're not aware and needing to take inventory of like, where are you already? Because if you're already struggling with blood sugars, if you're already struggling with weight, if you're already struggling with like anxiety and depression and mood swings, the irritability, going on a progestin birth control is probably going to make those worse. So on the flip side, though, if we have enough progesterone, we're going to see an improvement in cardiovascular health. It can stimulate your hair growth, has anti-androgen properties to keep those in check. It's generally really great for mood and sleep. It improves that inflammation levels. It regulates immune function, supports a healthy thyroid, supports healthy brain function, helps reduce risk of breast cancer. And altogether, those things tie a huge role into our fat burning pathways and opening them up so you can lose weight. So there are ways to get natural progesterone. One, obviously you can make it yourself, and we'll talk about ways to do that in a minute. Or two, you can take an oral micronized progesterone capsule. These are bioidentical progesterone, not progestin. Okay, we want to be very cautious here. They're also available in a cream compounded progesterone capsule, or there's a few different products as well. So the only way to make progesterone is through a healthy menstrual cycle and luteal phase. So this is approximately 10 to 14 days between ovulation and menstruation, and it is named after the corpus luteum, which is a temporary ovarian cyst that forms after an egg is released. Having a healthy corpus luteum is the only way to make progesterone. So like I mentioned before, during menopause, we have much smaller levels, lower levels of progesterone that we still manufacture in our ovaries, but as well as our adrenal glands. Although the adrenal glands are mostly exclusively the source of progesterone production, and estrogen production post-menopause and like in menopause when we're not having that cycle. Because if we're not having that cycle, we can't produce it, right? So what are some signs to watch for progesterone deficiency? So during normal menstrual cycles, our progesterone works in opposition to estrogen, meaning it challenges it or helps to keep it balanced. Estrogen dominates or rises in that first part of our menstrual cycle to help develop the egg. And then in the second phase, progesterone dominates and takes over for preparing the body for pregnancy until we have a period. Some things that can happen if we have a progesterone deficiency would be a shorter luteal phase or no luteal phase at all. So this is short cycles and no ovulation. Low temperatures in the luteal phase, because when progesterone goes up, our temperature also goes up. And this is where we see issues with thyroid function being lower. You can also do fertile mucus in the luteal phase. So because progesterone dries up fertile mucus, and spotting in the luteal phase because progesterone helps build and hold that uterine lining. So now as we enter perimenopause and our ovaries are much less responsive and our estrogen and progesterone levels start to fluctuate, it creates way less predictability around your cycles, right? Like sometimes they're longer, sometimes they're shorter, or they start progressively shortening, or you skip like a period every 3 months and then it starts getting longer and longer and longer. And so it makes it challenging, right? Because you're like, I don't know if I'm ovulating. I don't know if my period's going to come. So this means naturally your progesterone levels are going to be low because ovulation is needed to produce that healthy progesterone levels. So symptoms can be heavier bleeding with periods, spotting in between and around periods, changes in cycle length and timing, vaginal dryness. And an interesting fact is that most menopausal symptoms are actually caused by the decline in progesterone first, which is needed for that balancing act with estrogen. So therefore, it makes estrogen more dominant, causing those symptoms to feel way more aggressive, right? So here are some things that we can do to really help support healthy progesterone levels, whether you're in perimenopause or not. Okay, so what if you're in perimenopause or menopause, right? Because if you're not having a regular cycle, we need to support progesterone production. So you can take Vitex or chasteberry. It's a medication prepared from the berries of a large Mediterranean tree. It helps promote ovulation by protecting your hypothalamus from stress. Remember, high stress means low progesterone. So it helps protect your body from stress. And so it can also prevent your pituitary gland from making too much prolactin. It also has opiate-like constituents that work to calm down your nervous system. So again, bringing that stress down. So for best results, you want to take that Vitex or chasteberry in the morning before breakfast, as that is when your pituitary gland is going to be most receptive to that. So we usually recommend to pulse the supplement and stop it for about 5 days out of every month. So 5 days before the start of your period. And if you don't have periods, then take it like every 25 days and then off for 5. Also, if you have PCOS, which I do, then you need to talk to someone before taking Vitex, as it might not be the best option for supplements because it can increase luteinizing hormone and make PCOS worse. So I do not take this because of that. The next thing that you can do is focusing on proper nourishment with carbs, calories, fat, protein. And so we want to make sure that we are eating enough food, because if we are eating too low calorie, cortisol goes up, tanks our progesterone, fat burning pathway shut off through all the things that we talked about. We want to make sure we're having enough carbohydrates, which people are like, excuse me, what? I am actually in a phase right now where I am eating over 200 grams of carbs a day because my stress tolerance is so low. So my cortisol is really high. My progesterone is like nothing. My estrogen is like nothing. And so it doesn't take much for that stress to come up, causing inflammation, shutting off fat burning pathways, really lowering my energy. So I need to have higher carbohydrate intake. And so you want to make sure you're getting enough for your body without actually raising your blood sugars. So it's learning how to eat your foods to prevent that. So you want to eat most of your protein and veggies first before dipping into your carbs. So for example, last night we had Tuscan chicken. It was amazing. It's a cream sauce that has, and we always use half and half to like lower the fat content. Has Parmesan cheese, tomatoes, garlic, and spinach in it. It's delicious. Parmesan cheese, super underrated, great, high in protein, low calorie, awesome source. So we had that. I had that over my chicken. We had basmati rice, and we also had broccoli, steamed broccoli. So I ate a good chunk of my chicken and some of my broccoli before then starting to dip into my rice. That helps me be able to not see a spike in my blood sugars because it digests more slowly. It empties my stomach more slowly, but it's providing me with the energy that I need through carbohydrates, what our body likes to use. But then also it helps bring my cortisol levels down because carbs bring cortisol down. It also increases your sleepy hormone melatonin so that you can sleep better. So having carbohydrates at your last meal is really, really great. Like up that a little bit more. And then of course, just making sure you're having balanced meals in general. The next thing is making sure you're having adequate iodine and zinc intake, as those micronutrients help with healthy progesterone production. It's just making sure you're adding like a little bit of salt on your meals. Not a big deal. You want to correct any underlying inflammation issues, like histamine issues, leaky gut, hypothyroidism, insulin resistance, because if inflammation is high, cortisol is high, and that's going to tank your progesterone production. Inflammation is the driver of the majority of diseases. One of the highest drivers of inflammation is going to be stress. So we need to address what is causing your inflammation to go up, because it can be tons of things. It can be like toxin exposures. It could be alcohol. It could be too much caffeine, under eating. It could be under or over exercising. It could be not sleeping enough, not good quality sleep. There are so many things that drive inflammation up. I did a whole podcast on that. I believe it's episode 170 or 177. So you can go back and look for that. The next one, like I talked about, reducing stress. Stress is going to be the biggest thing to help support your progesterone levels, and make sure that we're actually producing it instead of producing our stress hormones. And so there are so many things that you can do. The first thing is going to be eating enough food. If we're not eating enough food, stress is going to be high. So I am in a spot right now where I'm eating 2,200 calories a day. I'm eating a lot of carbs, getting enough protein in, obviously aiming for whole foods, but like I'm eating a lot of food right now. And I'm actually not gaining weight. I'm maintaining, which is great. I'm feeling like my inflammation is coming down a little bit now, which is awesome. But like I also need to spend way more time doing de-stressing stuff. So my workouts, I'm tapering back a lot. I used to work out 3 to 4 days a week, mostly 3 days, lifting really heavy. I'm now switching to just 2 days a week, and I'm prioritizing way more walking throughout my day. I am doing feet up, so laying on the floor, putting my feet on the wall, because that brings blood flow back to the gut to help with digestion, to lower inflammation, so I'm not seeing as much bloating. But it also slows down your heart rate and breathing rate and your blood pressure to help bring that stress response down. So I do that once or twice a day for 5 to 10 minutes. Doing box breathing. So breathing in for 4 seconds, holding for 4 seconds, out for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds. But there's so many different breathing type techniques that you can do for, 20 breaths or for 2 minutes, whatever that might be. It seems really underrated. And like, is that really going to move the needle? It does so much. It's crazy, especially if you're in a high stress state, very type A, very go. You can try meditation. You can do journaling. You can do reading, activities that you enjoy doing, but this isn't exercise. We're looking for things that are going to bring our heart rate and breathing rate down. So for myself, I love spending time with Jesus. I love doing my devotional. I love reading my Bible. I love praying. I love journaling about it. Those are things that really calm me, center me, and make me feel really good, and bring my heart rate down. I can always see it on my Oura ring when I'm doing it, because I can look at my day and the times, and I see that it's come down. And my Oura rings have been really helpful for this, because sometimes you think that you're like doing good, and you're like, oh, today was a great day. Like I feel so good, so energized, and you realized, okay, I do feel good, which is awesome, but my body is perceiving this as stress. So you have to be able to pay attention to that a lot. The next one is eating in a relaxed environment. So you want to slow down when you're eating. Take some deep breaths beforehand. Actually chew your food, because what happens otherwise is you eat very quickly, you get bloating because your body is stressed out. Blood goes away from your gut to your arms and legs to either fight the bear or run away from the bear because you're in fight or flight, despite the fact that you're just sitting there eating, trying to rush your meals so you can get to work or whatever it might be. And blood flow goes away from your gut, which means digestion really slows down. Cortisol goes up. We also see when digestion slows down, we have more inflammation, which causes cortisol to go up even more, which further blocks fat burning pathways, which further decreases our progesterone production. So slowing down when you're eating and like being where your feet are, like try eating as a family, try slowing down, screen free, like pay attention to the food that you're having. Slow down with your eating. It's crazy how quick we are. Like my family's from Argentina, and I'll never forget my mom. When she was still alive, she would tell us about how different it was there compared to here. Like she told us growing up, like the banks would close for like 2 hours in the afternoon, and people would, like all the workers would sit and have like a big potluck together and barbecue together. And, you would just sit and relax and enjoy each other's company and enjoy good food. And that's not what the culture is like here. We're just so rushed that we're not taught to like enjoy that stuff. We just whip through a drive-through and eat on our way to wherever we're going instead of being mindful of the food that we're eating. I did talk about magnesium. So magnesium is a big one. This is something that I'm upping my dose in. You want to take about 400 milligrams at nighttime before bed. This is going to help calm your nervous system. It's going to help decrease stress. We know that magnesium brings cortisol down, which will help with progesterone production. But if your stress is really high, it burns through your magnesium stores very quickly. And magnesium is actually needed for the production of progesterone. So if you're struggling with progesterone, up your magnesium intake in foods, up your magnesium intake in your supplements. Again, I have a powder form that I really like. If you download our supplement guide, I'll make sure to put it in the show notes for you guys to grab your copy there. The other thing is vitamin C. This is a much needed vitamin for increasing progesterone and decreasing inflammation levels in our body. We need at least 750 milligrams of vitamin C daily for 3 cycles has been shown to increase progesterone by 8 to 12. That's awesome. So up your vitamin C intake. And then vitamin B50. This is a key vitamin for progesterone production specifically. It also helps improve your energy, which a lot of us are lacking when our progesterone is low. And it can also help reduce some symptoms of perimenopause and menopause. So you can go get a vitamin B50 from anywhere. I have one that I really like. Again, it's in the supplement guide. You can grab it there. But you can grab it anywhere, honestly. And then, of course, there's going to be specific foods that are going to help stimulate the production of progesterone as well. So these are healthy fats, beans, dark chocolate, citrus, leafy greens, avocados, salmon, shrimp, nuts, pumpkins, spinach, and whole grains. Foods that are used to help lower estrogen in the body can also improve the ratio of estrogen to progesterone. And these are things that are like bananas, cabbage, shellfish, walnuts, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, cauliflower, and kale. Like I mentioned with exercise, tapering it back because typically we are always doing so much cardio and we're so go, go, go. And we have to be super sweaty in a workout, and being sweaty does not mean it's effective at all. You could be super sweaty and never get to where you want to be. And this is because if we have too high of stress levels and we're dealing with this, our body is just going to produce cortisol and tank your progesterone. So we need to make sure that we are adjusting exercise appropriately for you. Like I said, for myself, I'm only doing 2 days a week of resistance training now. I am focusing on walking, recovery. Coach Carrie said I should try yoga, which I really don't want to. I'm going to be honest. I really don't want to. I've done it before and I do not like it, but my health is important. I do want to have kids again in the future. I want to be here around for a long time with my friends and family. I want to be able to see my son get married. I want to be able to be here for all the things. And this is just part of it. And so, Coach Kariana, you can call me out on it. This is me telling everyone we're going to start doing yoga. Oh man, what have I committed myself to? Okay, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. Okay, I'm going to do it. Twice a week, yoga. Here we go. I'm going to do just 20 minutes. 20 minutes twice a week. Yep, we're doing it. Okay. You can also do seed cycling. So this is where we use different seeds to help promote healthy progesterone and estrogen levels. We have a guide on this as well in our Facebook community that you can go check it out. Basically, you want to have certain seeds for the first half of your cycle, certain seeds for the next half to help support hormones. And then, of course, you can always take bioidentical progesterone as well. However, you need to be aware that it can help you with your symptoms. But if you aren't addressing the things that are causing your low progesterone levels, you're always going to have inflammation things going on. You're always going to have blood sugar issues going on. And those things are going to block your fat burning pathways. So taking bioidentical progesterone won't cause you to lose weight. It can help with symptoms, which can then help you be more motivated, like improving your sleep, for example, right? But we still need to do the things to open up your fat burning pathways and make sure that you can actually lose weight when you're cutting your calories and all those things. So I hope this was helpful. I hope sharing my experience a little bit as well has helped you too. But there is so much that you can do to help improve your progesterone levels. Share this with women in your life who have been on hormonal birth control for quite some time, or anyone who struggles with progesterone, because this is something that I wish I would have known more about before I went on birth control back in my teens and 20s, because it messed me up for a really long time and I had no idea what a big impact it was having on my body my future, my stress tolerance. Like this is something that I've been struggling with for a very long time. And I've done well and I've improved. But now postpartum, I'm like there again. And it feels like I'm starting over. And it really sucks. And I think a lot of people feel that way when they're on their health and fitness journeys as well. But like you'll improve and you'll get there. It's just, it sucks that I wish I would have been told this stuff sooner. So make sure you share this with the other women in your life. Make sure you subscribe. I'll be going over my Dutch test a little bit more in detail in a future episode soon. And I'll share some visuals for you as well. But I love you guys so, so much. Share with the women in your life, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.